Shocking truth. Bizarre. Meth-fueled rampage. Ends in gunfire of sheriff. Florida is known for its wild headlines, but this one is truly unlike anything we've seen. A man swims across an alligator-infested lake, survives a brutal bite, storms through a quiet neighborhood with a pair of garden shears, and minutes later, he's gunned down by deputies as he tries to seize a police rifle. What happened that morning was bizarre, terrifying, and deadly, and it all unraveled in less than an hour. The man, 42-year-old Timothy Schulz, had a long history with meth, and witnesses said he wasn't just dangerous, he was completely out of his mind. But here's the question. Was this truly a necessary use of force? Or could it have been prevented before it escalated to gunfire? Today, we're breaking down every minute of this surreal confrontation and the shocking chain of events that ended in blood, fear, and a bullet-riddled patrol car. Stay with us, because this case is far from ordinary. It all started just before 6 a.m. in the quiet pre-dawn hours of Mulberry, Florida. The racetrack gas station on Highway 37 placed an urgent call to the Polk County Sheriff's Office. An employee reported a man acting bizarrely, shaking, mumbling, and asking to call his son. The man wasn't threatening anyone, but something about him was deeply unsettling. The sheriff's deputies responded almost immediately, arriving within 3 minutes. But by the time they reached the gas station, the man was already gone. For over 40 minutes, deputies searched the area, but he had vanished without a trace. That man was 42-year-old Timothy Schulz, a name that would soon be splashed across headlines in what Sheriff Grady Judd would later describe as bizarre, violent, and drug-fueled chaos. At approximately 7:43 a.m., a second 911 call came in. A homeowner near a large lake behind a local subdivision saw something shocking. A man, white, shirtless, dazed, treading water in the middle of the lake. More disturbingly, the lake was known to be infested with alligators. One witness threw out a life vest, trying to help. But the man refused. Another neighbor approached and was startled when the man, later identified again as Schulz, growled at him. The witness, unnerved, ran back into his home and locked the door. By the time deputies arrived, Schulz was climbing out of the lake and walking between houses, bleeding and disoriented. At some point, he had apparently been attacked by an alligator, his arm showing clear signs of a bite wound. But that wasn't the most immediate threat. He had picked up a pair of garden shears from someone's yard. Then he spotted a pickup truck and began smashing it with a brick, trying to break in. Deputies confronted him as he stood in the cul-de-sac. According to one female witness out walking her dog, he charged at the officers with the shears. She later said the deputies waited too long to shoot. Instead of opening fire immediately, the deputies attempted to de-escalate. They ordered him to drop the weapon. They deployed their tasers, twice. Neither had any effect. Schulz continued to advance. When he finally turned and sprinted toward the deputy's patrol vehicle, still running with its doors unlocked, the situation became life-threatening. Schulz climbed into the front seat and began reaching for the department-issued rifle and shotgun locked inside. At that point, deputies had no choice. They opened fire, multiple shots, striking Schulz and fatally ending the confrontation. Sheriff Grady Judd later addressed the public in a press conference, recounting the sequence of events and defending the deputies' use of force. He emphasized that even though Schulz had committed multiple crimes, including attempted burglary, aggravated assault, and armed entry into a patrol car, the officers made every effort to resolve the situation without lethal force. The final decision to shoot came only when Schulz posed an immediate threat to public safety. But this wasn't just a tragic encounter. It was a symptom of a deeper issue. Schulz had an extensive criminal history, most of it revolving around methamphetamine. In fact, he had just been released from jail on May 20th, barely 2 weeks prior to the incident, after yet another meth-related arrest. Sheriff Judd didn't mince words. "People want to believe meth is non-violent," he said. "Well, here's your sign." According to Judd, Schulz's behavior, bizarre, aggressive, fearless, was characteristic of someone in a full-blown meth-induced psychosis. Still, the surreal elements of the morning left the community stunned. Schulz had somehow survived a lake crossing, an apparent gator attack, and the pain of an open wound, all before launching himself into what some speculated might have been a suicide by cop scenario. Was he trying to end his life? Was he simply too high to register pain or consequences? That part remains unclear. What is clear is that he showed no fear of law enforcement, no response to warnings, and no willingness to stop. The sheriff's department emphasized that Schulz's conduct, especially entering a patrol vehicle and reaching for weapons, left them with no room for negotiation. The tasers had failed. Words had failed. And Schulz had already proven himself willing to hurt someone. Investigators later recovered video evidence, eyewitness accounts, and audio that supported the deputy's version of events. Bodycam footage is currently under review, but early findings indicate that the use of force complied with department policy and state law. As is protocol, both deputies involved were placed on administrative leave. One of them was still in training, paired with a senior officer. Sheriff Judd praised both deputies for responding exactly as they had been taught. "They did what they had to do," he stated firmly. In a more unsettling revelation, Judd shared how close this came to becoming even more tragic. Had Schulz managed to unlock the shotgun or the AR-15 mounted in the patrol vehicle, the potential for mass harm was enormous. Deputies intervened just in time. Later that day, investigators combed the area. The lake, the burned-out truck, the shears, all documented as part of the bizarre case file. Witnesses described Schulz as possessed, or in another world, a man who no longer seemed tethered to reality. Some in the community expressed relief that no deputies or bystanders were hurt. Others mourned yet another life lost to drugs and mental instability. But perhaps the most haunting part of this story is its randomness. There was no plan, no motive, just a man spiraling into madness, and a tragedy that unfolded in plain sight. The sheriff closed his press conference with a blunt message. "If you attack our deputies, we will protect ourselves. We don't want to shoot people. But if you force our hand, we will act. Our deputies are going home safe." It's a statement that resonates in a time when law enforcement is often under scrutiny. But it also highlights the impossible decisions officers sometimes face, especially when dealing with people who are too far gone to listen, to reason, or even to survive. In the end, the story of Timothy Schulz is not just about one chaotic morning. It's a grim reflection of the devastating effects of methamphetamine, untreated mental illness, and the dangers faced by law enforcement in unpredictable encounters. A man once free just days earlier found himself spiraling into a violent, drug-induced frenzy, swimming across a gator-infested lake, resisting help, and ultimately confronting armed deputies in a life-or-death standoff. The fact that no innocent bystanders or deputies were harmed is a testament to the quick response and restraint shown until the very last moment. But this case leaves a haunting question behind. How many more tragedies like this are coming if communities fail to address the underlying issues of addiction and instability? Thank you for watching. If you want more real-life cases that reveal the darkest corners of human behavior, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay safe and stay alert.